I'm Matt.
I'm Kerry.
We are the Stagmer brothers of Baltimore Knife and Sword. We're going to be building some of your favorite weapons, and some weapons that you've never seen before.
This is Man-at-Arms, Reforged.
As the Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales is about to come out, the guys have been begging me for a challenge, and I've decided to give them an assignment: the Pirate's Cutlass. The history of the Cutlass comes around in the 18th century, when naval sabers were shortened en masse to suit better the close-quarters combat such as would be encountered at sea.
Very impressive.
Our swordsmiths are Matt, Bill, and John. They all have different ideas for what will be their final cutlass, and they all suck at heat treating.
Ilya doesn't know what he's talking about. I never pay attention to him as it is. I went ahead and used our CNC plasma table and cut me out a nice cool cutlass blade shape. We'll clean the flats up here, go over to our B3, carve some scoops into the back, and then heat treat it, take it from there.
For our Pirates of the Caribbean bill, I'm really limited on time, so went into the shop, snagged one of our already 28-inch cutlass blades that we make on a daily basis. But not really happy with the width and the length of these blades, so I went ahead, took it to the forge, beveled all my edges, lengthened it by about 2 inches, and as you can see, I've already made it about another 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch wider. Now I'm going to take it to my roughing wheel and get it ready for heat treat.
Now I know John and Bill are both going to focus on making theirs highly detailed, probably doing some pretty elaborate hilts, but me, I'm a blade guy, so my focus is going to be making the blade as cool as possible. I got a stack of 15 and 20 and 1095 right here. Now what I'm going to do is, instead of just alternating every level, when I get to the top of my billet, I'm going to stack my 1095 extra thick, so maybe 3 layers on top of that. So then when I fold that billet onto itself, I'll have a really thick layer of 1095, which will become my cutting edge. Should give it a pretty unique look. Before I move on, I'm just gonna go grind these off so it's nice and flush. Next time I see you guys, I'll be out at the forge.
All right, so I picked out one of our 28-inch cutlasses, customized it just a bit. Well, now I'm taking one of our stock Jolly Roger guards. Now, I'm gonna put it into our big fly press here, which is gonna allow me to shape it and dish it. Once I'm done, I'm gonna take it over to my sanders, clean it all up, make it nice and pretty, and then the final thing I'm gonna do is take it to what we call a ball stake, and I'm gonna hammer facets all along into the skull here to really bring out that detail of the guard.
I've imposed strict time constraints on all the competitors, and because of that, Matt doesn't have enough time to produce a high-layered Damascus billet. Yet, he chooses again to show some work and decides to do one fold and draws out his blade. After the guard for the cutlass is dished, Bill goes on to the sander and cleans up the outside surface.
So you can see I'm now forging on the edge side of my billet or my blade. Now, if I was forging in my bevels, you'd be correct in assuming that I'm doing everything wrong. I'm using the peen side of the cross peen, and I'm just pinching all along the edge. Now, I'm not doing that to establish bevels at all. The pattern will be squished and finer in each of the areas that I've hit, so we'll get some waves along the edge. At least that's my plan.
Being serious about winning, Bill decides to put something extra to his cutlass. So he uses a ball stake and hammer facets his guard, giving it a nice sheen, just like a disco ball.
I forged my blade. I'm pretty happy with it. That's about the fastest I've ever tried to forge a sword blade. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grind it back and then grind my whole surface smooth, and then I'll move on to doing all the edging and foolery.
As the chief blade grinder at Baltimore Knife and Sword, Matt chooses to employ a technique called hollow grinding. This technique produces a sharper blade than the flat grind chosen by the other competitors. This is an intense moment. Bill Collison chooses to quench his sword in water. The blade might crack. You can see the sweat dripping from his forehead. The worst is over. The blade did not crack, and Bill is relieved. However, the sword warps. What is he going to do now? Following Bill's lead, John chooses water as well. His face is as intense, although years of experience have created a veneer of coolness. Hell yeah! His blade is warped again. Both of them are in hard trouble. Let's see how Matt does. Matt now is ready to heat treat his Damascus sword. Well, the tip of the cutlass blade gets overheated, so he uses a novel technique of blowing at it to cool it off. He plunges it into the forge once again and gets the entire blade to an even heat. It goes into the oil. Safe choice, I might say. Safe choice.
With time winding down, all three of us are putting the final touches on our blades. One of the really cool things about this challenge is the three smiths involved in it. John highly influenced me when I was a teenager. Then I began doing all the blade grinding. In the last 2 years, when Bill started to work here, I kind of passed along that knowledge to him. So we should have 3 very distinct looks from 3 generations of blade makers. This episode and this build particular means a lot to me. I've been waiting for a Cutlass build since we started the show. Now, I've been doing pirate reenacting / cosplay basically my whole adult life. I was the assistant editor of Pirates magazine, and I was one of the founding members of the Order of Leviathan. Since this build means a lot to me, you're gonna see I'm gonna put a lot of extra effort into it. I'm basically gonna do a French hanger, which is a D-shaped knuckle guard with a clamshell. I'm gonna forge the whole thing, probably gonna do it all out of pattern welded steel. It's gonna be beautiful, and I think it'll be a lot more unique than what the other 2 guys are planning. I forged an integral guard with a clamshell attached, so there's no welding involved at all. This is all one solid piece. I'm now ready to move on to bending the knuckle bow. Now that the knuckle bow is formed, I'm going to clamp the guard in a vise and beat the clamshell down so it faces the blade. This is a classic look of a French hanger cutlass.
Working at Baltimore Knife and Sword, Bill has done quite a few faceted pommels. So, that is what he chooses. While Matt and Bill are working on their cutlasses, John finds time and sneaks out. He uses the outside screw press to put the octopus design on his guard.
So, I got done grinding the pommel for my cutlass. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna facet this ridge right here so I can match the skull on my guard. And you notice I'm using a piece of wood so I don't mar up my pommel and get any other marks that I don't want.
After brassing the guard, John, having a keen eye for design, moves to the press, then the ball stake, and then the anvil, to fine-tune the shape of his octopus.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take our metal blackening solution and coat these. Now, pirates over the seas usually would blacken their objects. Why? Saltwater, steel, don't mix well, corrosion. When you blue it or blacken it, that's actually gonna add a little bit of a barrier from the salt itself. And also it gives it a pretty cool look.
To put the tang slot in the wood handle, I've drilled 3 holes, 1 in the center and 2 on either side at an angle. I then just go back and forth on the drill bit to make it match the tang perfectly.
I went ahead and brassed the guard, the octopus guard for my cutlass. So now we're going to heat brass the pommel I made to match. So we'll be using a standard acetylene plumber's torch with a large nozzle and a brass wire wheel and a die grinder.
You can see I've sanded my handle to shape. I did a reverse tapering. That means the fattest part will be my pommel side. It's a beautiful piece of spalted tiger stripe maple, and I would just leave it like this because it's quite striking as is. But you see historically most of these handles have a spiral groove that goes down it. So when you use our narrow wheel, you see me use many different times and just grind those spirals in.
Okay, the final step on my cutlass, I wanted to do something nice that they can't do, and that's wire wrap my handle. I twisted up some brass wire, got some steel accent wire here, shaped up the handle, put it on my little jig I made. So due to our time constraint, I really need to get going on this. It's going to take a little bit.
Now that I have my guard forged and ground to shape, my last little bit of detail before etch is to grind the lines on my clamshell.
All right, I'm running short on time. I've already went through, polished most of my blade, have a nice edge on it. That's why you see this green tape on it. It's gonna protect my hands as I go to grind my handle. So let's get that done so I can put it all together.
All right, all my parts are polished out. I'm about ready to etch them, but I noticed I had a few minutes left. So I'm gonna add a little extra detail, take a little more weight off my blade by grinding in a couple of stacked fullers on the back. You can see I did it on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this side, get everything etched, put this thing together.
The last thing for Bill is to apply linseed oil to his handle. Linseed oil exposes the grain of the wood and brightens up the colors. Whenever working with Damascus steel, the moment of truth arrives when the smith plunges their blade into acid, revealing the pattern.
Now that my wire-wrapped handle is completed, I want to go ahead and dry assemble everything to make sure it all fits just right before we sharpen the blade.
Pitted against each other, each craftsman had brought the unique skills to the table. Forging, Damascus, fit and finish. They've worked very hard. Now, let's see whose blade does the best. I think I know who won, but it doesn't matter. Leave a comment below and tell us whose cutlass was the best.
Click here to subscribe or click here to watch more episodes. Thanks for watching Man-at-Arms Reforged. We need to know what you want the guys to build, so tell us in the comments below what weapons you want to see next.